Welcome to Stroke Buddies Support Group meeting. My name is Ralph Preston. I run Stroke Buddies, and we are trying to bring more focused content to you as we move forward. Last week we had a great presentation by Dennis Falvey about being your own best healthcare advocate. And this week we have another stroke survivor, pay it forward person, Joe McCollough, who's going to do a presentation on automatic negative thoughts, better known as ants. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Ralph. And thank you for saying pay it forward, but I sort of like the term pay it backwards, because when I had my stroke, I got involved in some Facebook stroke groups. And a lot of those people were positive and they really set me on the right course. So hopefully I could pay it backwards to those people, those more recent people, and help them on their journey. So as you start with your journey, the most important thing is being able to control your emotions after a stroke. So everybody has a lot of automatic negative thoughts. So to start your post-stroke journey, you'll need to be in the right state of mind. As a stroke survivor, you are bombarded with negativity and limitations. Automatic negative thoughts. This is going to come from Dr. Daniel Amen. The link is right there if you'd like to. I'm going to play it from here. But if you're watching this later on, you can copy that link and you can watch it. So I'm going to stop the video, the PowerPoint presentation, real quick. And end slideshow. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go to this seminar. And let me stop this. Hold on.
So excited to be with you today.
I'm going to share my screen again. So here we go.
Hi, this is Dr. Daniel Amen. I am so excited to be with you today. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics that I just think is so important, and that is killing the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that come into your mind and ruin your day, and getting rid of the little lies that make you fat, depressed, and feeble-minded. So around the world, I'm sort of known as the brain doctor, the guy that scans people's brains and then helps to optimize it. And what a lot of people don't realize is how important programming the brain is in order to keep it healthy. So brain health, if you've heard me talk before, is actually pretty simple. You avoid things that hurt the brain, like brain injuries, drug and alcohol abuse, things like diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. But negative thinking is another one of the very important things to avoid. I happy, hopeful thoughts, and the brain works so much better when you correct the negative thinking patterns and you learn how to direct your mind in a positive way. And as you'll see from the presentation, it's not just about pie in the sky, happy thinking, because it just doesn't work. I want you to think in the most accurate, effective ways, because your brain will then work better. So I have a little slide presentation for you today. And the first slide you'll see are some of the little lies that drive aging and drive obesity and drive depression and drive anxiety disorders. So things like my memory's no good. That's normal. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not normal. That actually having memory problems is the sign of early trouble. So one of the little lies people tell themselves all the time are lies that actually put you in denial for problems going on in your brain. Another one I hear all the time that actually amuses me is I travel too much to be healthy. Or I interviewed a person once for help here at the Amen Clinics, and he was really overweight, and I just couldn't help myself. And I said, so tell me what's going on with your weight. And he said, well, I travel a lot. And I had just finished a 22-city tour for public television, and I went, well, I travel a lot. My weight's okay. And he's like, well, I work hard. And I'm thinking to myself, probably not harder than I work. It's those little lies that you tell yourself that give you permission to act badly. Or I remember once I was interviewing Big Ed White, who's one of our NFL players. So the Amen Clinics here, we're in the middle, are actually toward the end of a large-scale NFL study. And Big Ed White was 365 pounds and 6'2". And I said, Ed, what's the deal with your weight? He said, I have no control over my appetite. You know, if you see me as a patient, I don't let you lie to yourself. And I went, really? I said, you have absolutely no control over your appetite? And he thought about it and he said, well, that's really not true. I do have some control. And I'm thinking to myself, of course you have some control. But when you believe the lie, I have no control over my appetite, you've just given yourself permission to eat anything you want, at any time you want. Another one of my players said, I'm overweight because everybody in my family's overweight. Or I have other people say, my family gets Alzheimer's disease, I'm going to get it. And what they don't realize is about 30% of your health is related to your genes. 70% of your health is related to your behavior. So my genes, too, say I should be fat. I actually did the genetic test from 23andMe. It's a company online. You can spit in a cup and send it to them, and they'll tell you what your genetic vulnerabilities are. And I have a 65% chance that I would be fat, but I'm not. Why? Because I don't engage in the behaviors that would make me fat. So those families where you see the grandfather and the father and the daughter and the grandchildren are obese, in part it's because they're engaging in behaviors that make them that way. Everything in moderation. It's another one of those little lies, because when you actually add up all the things they have to do in moderation, there's no way they could be healthy. Or I can't find time to work out. I just had a conversation actually with one of our NFL players who I saw for his follow-up scan, which was much better, but not as good as it could be. And I'm like, are you exercising? He said, no. And it's like, well, I don't have time. And I'm like, when you don't have any time, if you're dead, that making an appointment to exercise is as important as brushing your teeth, and you should brush your teeth because gum disease is a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. So getting rid of the little lies, or it's Easter, or Memorial Day, or 4th of July, or coming up Labor Day, or Thanksgiving, or Christmas, or New Year's Eve, or it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. I mean, there's always a reason to cheat. There's always a reason to not be a warrior for your brain health. But what I want to challenge you today is whenever you feel sad, mad, nervous, or out of control, I want you to write down the automatic thoughts that are going through your head and correct them. And so for those of you that are part of our online community, there's a brain journal, and at the bottom of the brain journal, you can write down the thoughts going through your head. Or one of my favorite rooms in the online community, the Amen Solution, is the Kill the Ants room. Because if you go there, what you find is this exercise. Whenever you feel sad, mad, nervous, or out of control, it'll actually walk you through a very specific exercise I'm going to tell you about. So, this technique I have built over a long period of time is incredibly simple. And it's based on a therapy called cognitive therapy, or therapy for your thoughts. It was first developed by Aaron Beck at the University of Pennsylvania. They studied it repeatedly, and they found that this technique that I'm going to share with you can be as effective as antidepressant medication for people with anxiety and depressive disorders. It's been shown to help couples. It's been shown to help people who have eating disorders. There's one study from Sweden that says if you do the technique that I'm going to share with you every day for 10 weeks, people lost 17 pounds, where this was their major intervention, was learning how to correct the automatic negative thoughts that went through their mind. So it's based on some simple ideas. Every time you have a thought, your brain releases chemicals. Every single time you have a thought. When you have bad thoughts, angry thoughts, hopeless thoughts, helpless thoughts, your brain releases the set of chemicals that make you feel bad. How do we know this? Well, we've done imaging work that demonstrated it. But I'm also a biofeedback therapist, so in biofeedback what we do is we put measuring devices on your hands, so for hand temperature and sweat gland activity. We also look at muscle tension, something very interesting called heart rate variability, and your breathing rate. And when people focus on negative thoughts, say I had the thought, no one would sign up today, or no one will like my talk today. What immediately happens is your hands get cold, you start to sweat, your muscles get tense, your heart rate variability goes down, which is a sign of stress, and your breathing rate gets faster and more shallow, so it becomes actually less efficient. And all of those things happen immediately with negative thoughts. Now, the opposite is true, that good thoughts cause your brain to release chemicals that help you feel happy and positive. And immediately what happens when you think of something that makes you happy is your hands get drier, they get warmer, your muscles become more relaxed, your heart rate variability goes up, and your breathing goes down and becomes more efficient. And it happens immediately. So I used to hook people up to these biofeedback instruments, and then I'd ask them questions. So I'd ask them, think about your mother. And if your mother is a happy idea, so like my mom, who I adore, who's like one of the world's best moms, when I think about her, my hands get warmer, they get drier, my heart rate variability goes up, and so on. If, on the other hand, your mom was someone who beat you, who was not a good mom, and you started thinking about her, you get this automatic stress response. So it's very important to know that thoughts are powerful, and they cause emotional, physical, chemical reactions in your body. Thoughts are automatic, they just happen. They're based on complex chemical reactions and things from your past, like memories. But what most people don't know is your thoughts, your moment-by-moment thoughts, lie a lot. And that you don't have to believe every thought you have. In fact, this is something that they should have taught you in second grade. And it's interesting, I was just in my daughter's second grade class earlier this year, and I taught them about this, and it was so easy that they immediately got the concept, but no one had ever taught them. And I wish someone would have taught me when I was in second grade, because if I would have gotten this idea, it would have helped with a lot of suffering in my life. So thoughts lie, and if you want to be better, you have to take control of your own thoughts.
Well, that was the video. I hope we got something out of it. I'm going to try to close out of this video. And I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. So we talked about, we watched a video on the automatic negative thoughts. I'm going to ask, what is your ant infestation? Why are ants so harmful? Negative thoughts cause your brain to immediately release chemicals that affect every cell in your body, making you feel bad. The opposite is true with positive thoughts. How to kill the ants. First of all, write them down. Every time you have a negative thought that comes into your head, write it down. And then you can identify the thoughts. You have all or nothing thoughts, thinking that things are either all good or all bad. You know, as often I think about my stroke, and it's not all bad. There's some good parts to it. Less than ants, comparing and seeing yourself less than others. Well, I compare myself to everybody all the time. I'm always constantly telling people, oh, I had a stroke. Why? Because I'm embarrassed sometimes about my physical abilities. But no, I'm not any worse than anybody else. I'm just a person that has a situation. Just the bad ants, seeing only the bad in every situation. I have this problem all the time when I try to tell people I can't drive because of my stroke left me with terrible balance and my ability to focus is bad. Guilt-bearing ants, labeling ants, attaching negative labels to yourself or someone else. Well, I attach negative labels to myself all the time.
Joe, you're not seeing the screen.
You're not seeing it?
No, I didn't want to interrupt you right in the middle of a word, but when you said you were going to share it, you didn't share. It didn't come up.
I didn't share it. I'm sorry.
Well, you may have. We're not.
I'm new at this. So let me go back a couple. Well, we'll start here. How to kill the ants. First of all, write down your Can you see the screen now?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm new at this. So write down your automatic negative thoughts. Whenever you have a negative thought, write it down. Identify the ants. The all or nothing ants, thinking that things are either all good or all bad. The less than ants, comparing and seeing yourself as less than others. Just the bad ants, only seeing the bad parts of your personality or your thoughts. Guilt-bearing, feeling guilty about your condition. Labeling ants, attaching negative label to yourself and someone else. Fortune-telling ants, your thoughts are your predictions of what's going to happen in your future. Mind-reading ants, believing you know what other people are thinking, even though they haven't told you. If only, I'll be happy. And then the blaming ants, where you blame yourself. Ask yourself if the thought is true. Ask yourself how you feel when you have these thoughts. Then ask, how would you feel without them? Make anti-ant killing a daily habit. Remember your ants Remember your bad thoughts, your negative thoughts, and kill them. It takes practice. You just can't do it once and think you've mastered your thinking patterns. When you make it a daily practice, you'll feel freer, less anxious and depressed, and less trapped in the past that hurts you. So I'm going to ask you, and if you want to turn on your mics and respond, please do. What are your negative thoughts? What do you think is negative? I know I have them all the time. I can't work anymore. I can only work for a couple hours and I have to sit down because I'm tired. I lose focus on doing something. I lose my concentration. Do you believe your thoughts? I get into it sometimes, but I believe that I'm less than I used to be. Are your thoughts lying to you? Yeah, they are lying to me. I do have limitations. I do have challenges, but you know what? I'm living a pretty decent life. What thoughts put you in a happy place? This is probably the most important thing. It's called IPR, or immediate positive response. When you have these ants and you think bad about yourself, you think bad about your situation, think of something that takes you to a happy place. Me, it's my yard, it's my garden, it's my vegetable garden, it's my flower gardens, and it's my home, my projects, my decorating projects I'm doing inside my home that's making me feel good. Well, that's going to be the end of the slideshow. I'm going to stop sharing. So if you'd like to turn on your microphones, let's have a discussion about how you feel. Ralph, how do you feel?
I was wondering, I sometimes feel like I don't have enough time. I don't know if that's a negative thought. I sometimes get a bit overwhelmed. I put too much on my plate sometimes, and then I start to worry that I'm not going to be able to get it done. And I guess I have a negative thought that I'm not, capable of doing what I set out to do or something like that. And I find that if you get into that thinking, it's kind of like a downward spiral. If you start thinking you're not good enough or there's not enough time, then you're likely to prove it to be true. And if you don't go there and you have a more accepting attitude about what you're trying to get done, and you don't beat yourself up about it, that you're likely to be more successful. I mean, that's now. I mean, my stroke was 13 years ago, so I mean, I had different set of ants, the first year than I do now, trying to help other people.
Dennis, can I call on you? Can you tell me what you feel about, do you have ants? How
Absolutely. I worry about never being able to return to work. And I also worry about not being able to provide a good life for my fiance.
Can I tell you something, Dennis? I had that thought too, that, my goal was to return to work. And I had these ants, these negative thoughts about not being able to work. But you know what? Those thoughts lied to me. Returning to work was not the most important thing in my life. I'm doing other things that probably make me happier. And I think I'm doing other things that make my life a lot better. I put more focus on my friends. I put a lot more focus on what I can do rather than what I can't do. And by changing my focus, I had sort of a high stress, high technical job that I just can't focus on, and I just can't, I'd try to do what I used to do, and I'd be trying to I used to do technical electrical schematics. And from 1 hour to the next, I'd forget where I was, and I'd get lost in the project. And finally I said, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to do what I like doing. I do what brings me joy. And, as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to change my clothes and go back out in my garden. And that'll bring me more joy and more satisfaction. And no, I don't have the money that I used to have, but I'm a lot happier.
Dennis, what do you do to try and stave those negative thoughts off or deal with them once they've happened?
Well, I listened to Dr. Amon's videos last night. Oh, I watched 3 of them. And he never really spoke about gratitude, but I'm a big believer in gratitude. So it's somewhat old fashioned, but every day I get up and I make a short gratitude list. Just 5 things. What am I grateful for today? And they might be simple things like the cable still works and I have a little bit of food and the lights are on. And it rained last night, but I didn't get wet because I have a roof over my head. So if I can stay focused on the positive things, that helps keep my mind off the negative things, which I think he addressed, but in a different fashion. So that's
Maybe, Dennis, if I could say that maybe your gratitude list, and I love that idea, that's your IPR.
Yeah, exactly. He spun it a little differently.
You look at that gratitude list, and it's like Dr. Amen said he would think of his mother. You look at your gratitude list, and that's your immediate positive response. So that brings a little bit of joy and happiness into you, and you change the chemical makeup in your mind, which changes the chemical makeup in your body.
Exactly.
I guess mine would be to tell myself, that I've got this, and to not let that I'm capable of doing what I set out to do, and not to let any doubt creep in. That would be my immediate response.
Yeah, and I also rely on prayer quite a bit. I know it's somewhat of a different topic, but not necessarily. I mean, I try to ask for help to tackle those challenges that I may face throughout the day. But that's just another mechanism I use. And helping other people. Ralph, I'm not quite as versed at it as you are, but I find if I can get out of myself, I call somebody else who might be worse off than me, then my problem seems small in comparison.
Helping people isn't quantitative, I don't think. I think, if you help people, you're helping people. Okay, who else are we going to pick on here, Joe?
I don't know. I'd like to hear from some other people. Unmute your mic. Tell me what you feel. Tell me how you feel. Did you like the video? Did you like the presentation? Do you like the concept? Do you think it'll be helpful to you?
I like the presentation. I like the idea of keeping stuff moving on the screen. Of course, it worked perfectly in our tests. The volumes were better, and YouTube didn't stutter. So maybe as a video person, I'll work on perfecting that. Maybe what we should be doing is downloading the video and playing it as a video off the computer rather than allowing for the internet to do it. I don't know what happens to your internet there, Joe, if we're streaming off of YouTube and doing Zoom at the same time.
I went straight to the video off of YouTube and played that, but I like it better. I like the idea of downloading the video onto the computer, because I might have there are some internet outages in the area. Of course, this is the Midwest and we're having storms. So,
Well, yeah, and bandwidth could be an issue. Anyway, that's a kind of a fine-tuned thing, and I like the concept of presenting stuff on the screen other than the talking heads, and I think it's effective, and we'll work towards it. And we'll get better at it.
The volume kept changing, I found.
Yeah, I did too. When you saw me lean in, I was listening. It's funny because I had a conversation with Joe about this. It didn't launch out of his PowerPoint as a video TD. We never would allow people to launch videos out of PowerPoint. We always wanted everything separate so we could roll it in. So it's kind of ironic that we have a little minor trouble with the exact same thing. So I know how to fix it. I've got software that'll download from YouTube, and then you have a file you can play, and that won't use any bandwidth. So okay, Scott, I sent you the videos last week because you said this was a big subject for you. So now we're going to put you on the spot and ask you, why it was a big subject and what kind of negative thoughts you had and how you dealt with them, if you're willing to share that.
Sure. Yeah, I've watched a few videos by Dr. Daniel, and this is also a subject that I've talked to with my counselor. I see a counselor every week, and the counselor recommended what Joe and what Dr. Daniels recommended is, when you have a negative thought, write it down. But most of my negative thoughts occur when I wake up in the middle of the night, and it's changed after my stroke. Like, I used to wake up at 3 a.m. all the time. Now it's kind of shifted to around 5:30 in the morning, where I wake up and I have all these negative thoughts start racing through my mind. And it's like, I would love to jot them down, but it's like, I want to get back to sleep. I don't want to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, turn on a light and whip out a notebook and start writing stuff. I want to try to get back to sleep. Sometimes I can get back to sleep. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I stay there until like 6, 7 in the morning when I finally decide to get out of bed. So yeah, it's kind of like a waterfall. Like they come, and it's just like, I have like unresolved issues with different friends and family and things that I'm dealing with.
I had some of those in the middle of the night after my stroke, where yours mine were like they were kind of like fear, like everything's wrong, everything's wrong in the world, everything's going to go wrong tomorrow. What's racing through your head at 5:30 in the morning?
Oh, it's all sorts of stuff. It's like, am I ever going to get better? It's like everything. It's never sunshine and rainbows. It's always negative stuff. It's like, when am I going to get better? I'm tired of exercising. I'm burned out. It's all different things,
Everything sounds like what I'm saying. Everything's wrong.
Yeah, are we going to get locked down? Is this coronavirus going to get out of control again? It's all sorts of things. Am I ever going to get back to work? That's another thing. And yeah, it's all over the board.
So what do you do to get back to sleep?
Just basically lay there, and I try to like block it out. And sometimes I'm successful, and sometimes I'm not. When I'm not successful, that's when I lay in bed for a couple hours until I decide to get up. And I'm looking into like different blocking techniques, and it's sometimes it's just overpowering. I can't turn it off.
Yeah, I experience a little of that. I call it grinding.
Yeah, I was watching Dr. Daniel's videos, and I was hoping he would touch on that. How do you turn this stuff off without turning on a light and writing down your negative thoughts?
I wake up often with really bad dreams, negative dreams, and they are my thoughts manifested in a dream. And they're always negative, and it's always me failing at something. So what I do, and I'll take this back to Lauren, is I'll put on my headset and listen to some music. And that flushes out the memory. It shifts my brain from being negative and bad, then it's my IPR, my immediate positive response. I'll put on some country music. And
That would just upset me listening to country music.
the
I need a cure. I don't need another distraction, another,
well, I guess maybe the other distraction takes me away from my own distraction, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get you.
And or I might even turn on TV, but I don't watch the cops and all that stuff. But sometimes I need an outside source to take me away from my negative thoughts, especially if they came from a dream in the middle of the night. And I know you want to go back to bed, but I know that I just can't lay there and go back to bed. I can't go back to sleep. I get up and I go out the living room, watch TV. I'll go turn on my stereo or put on my headphones or just listen to it without headphones. And that will take me away. And within a half hour, I'm back to sleep. And the negative thought is totally washed out of my mind.
Yeah, that sounds like that would work. You have you're listening to the TV or you're listening to music, so you don't have time to listen to the voice in your head. You're kind of substituting it. That's a good strategy.
Well,
If
there
I
again,
did that, if I did that, the stimulus would keep me up for the rest of the night, whether it was 2 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning. Just
Yeah,
if I see a bunch of light and hear stuff, and just me personally, I always
I think the music would be
I try
probably a remedy for me. But like Ralph is saying, like with the TV, if I turn on the TV, the bright light would definitely keep me up.
well, you can find.
Well, nowadays, there's so many podcasts out there. You can put on, relaxing stuff versus, Ralph, you old hippie, you can't listen to Led Zeppelin and Grateful Dead at 2 a.m. and anticipate going back to bed.
No, you'd probably be better off with like some people use like ocean sounds or
Yep.
calming. That they make well, they actually make like used to make clock radios and with cell phones and everything. I don't think they are anymore, but they used to make like clock radios that would play ocean sounds and calming things. Maybe more for people who have trouble getting to sleep in the first place, but it's kind of the same. I never really because the stimuli tended to keep me awake. I tended to just kind of try and roll over and put everything out of my mind. And Scott, that's not easy to do. To stop grinding, to clear your own mind, because they tend to keep popping in.
Yeah.
At least with me, I'd often get stuck on like one thought. That's almost like the worst. At least if you got a bunch of negative thoughts, you can swap off between them. But I tended to like focus on one and grind on it.
Yeah, that's what tends to happen to me is when I try to block out that one negative thought, like I'll block it out, but then another one appears. It's can't win.
By the way, we won't put you on the spot, but Corinne and Lauren, this is not something that's limited to stroke survivors. This goes on in everyone's life from second grade on when they don't get that lesson. So, all right. Winnie, Kelly, Lauren, Corinne, anybody else?
Yeah, I did return to work. I tried. I couldn't get past doing work. I was home care for other people that have had strokes or whatever problems. And it's totally different when it's you. I couldn't go past 2 hours. I was exhausted. I didn't even have energy to come home and eat if I could drive home. Shower. It was a big process to realize I'm not going to be able to work and be human and shower and eat and housework. Can't do all of it. And it was on my own then. It felt really bad because working, I was a PSW and I felt my identity. So it was a mental process to go through to accept it, that I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's been almost 4 years now since the stroke. It was like 10 months later. I tried to go back too soon because I thought I was invincible. Yeah, everybody thought I was crazy, but I tried. At least I tried.
Well,
Thoughts,
and
negative.
if I may, Kelly, to that point,
Mhm.
what I've realized is that this is likely an opportunity for me to reinvent myself.
Mhm.
You know, I've done the same thing for so many years, and in my present condition, I just can't travel and do the things I used to do. So, you know, I've come to the conclusion that it's time to reinvent myself, and that could be a very positive thing. And I don't know what that is and how that's going to happen, but you know, I continually explore opportunities to reinvent myself.
Well, that brings something to mind, and that is, you know, what I'm hearing in all this is that some of these negative thoughts come about because we have these preconceived ideas about what we are, what we were, what we should be going forward, and reinventing yourself or accepting is really just a matter of letting go. And
Yep.
sometimes you can, it's easier to let go if you try and think about yourself differently or redefine yourself or redefine the way you look at yourself. Because what I'm hearing is that, you know, especially in the case of going back to work, that it's pressure you're putting on yourself, and you're putting it on yourself because of a preconceived idea that you should be working, you should be doing what you used to do.
And I loved it.
You've broken through this because you said, hey, I'm happier, I like doing these other things, I'm poorer, but I don't need to work. So, maybe you've gotten through the process. Kelly, I saw you trying to bring in that. Have you, I guess you've probably found peace with it all.
Yeah, it was a lot of mental changes, but eventually you can get there.
Right. And so are you saying that part of your process was looking at changing the way you looked at yourself and what you should be?
Yeah, that I couldn't do what I used to do physically.
Well, there's some acceptance there because you also have to be okay with it. We
Yeah.
tend to you said you were a caregiver and you were, I didn't catch the letters of some level, and you saw that as your identity. So
Yeah.
part of this whole thing of transitioning to the best new you can be is redefining your identity.